So hello everyone. My name is Shola Bulu. I'm the principal consultant of Shola Bulu and Associates. So I just wanted to do this really short video. I hope it's going to be really short. Well, I just wanted to talk about the difference between a communications generalist and a specialist. I use some of these terms quite often, and I just realized that it was something that I didn't quite share very well. I mean, sometimes I use it and I'm not really I've been using those terms, and I think that maybe I wasn't, just to make sure that everybody understands. So, a generalist, and this is the thing, well, at least forgive me, I'm going to be doing a lot of slicing and dicing and explaining, and I want us to become familiar with the use of these terms because I'm finding out that in our profession, because we are not differentiating ourselves well, we're not special, we're not differentiating ourselves well, people do not know. And the problem with this is that what is happening is that employers are employing people, they're not recruiting appropriately. And people are also applying for jobs not knowing what it entails. And then when you come in, you're disappointed employer, disappointed employees, disappointed. Do you understand? At least let there be knowledge. And it's really not helping us. And to be honest, I don't want to say anything, but the institutions that should have helped with this, they're not really helping. But I will also take responsibility because I'm also supposed to, maybe if I'd also, maybe if one had also gotten involved at the level and at the time that one would have been in a place to make a difference. But I'm still hopeful that, particularly in the Nigeria space, we will have opportunity to do that. And to be honest, some of these things have evolved over time. So let's say maybe a bit of history, but every profession rises to the occasion. I think we also have to rise to the occasion, as comms professionals. Have what we call generalists in communication. Now, communications is end to end, and I want to say PR and communications, but there are PR generalists and there are comms generalists, and then there are PR and comms generalists. I know I'm not using slides this time around, but I'm going to have to redo this with proper slides. But let me just start this, before I have the opportunity to do the slide version. So the PR specialist is focused on, PR. Let's talk about generalist. First, generalist is the person that knows a lot of things, little bit about the spectrum of communications or the spectrum of PR. Public relations, for instance, has like the PR, traditional PR element. There's marketing PR. There's product PR. There's stakeholder relations, there's media relations, there's community relations. There's so many relations things that have to do with different public. There's investor relations, which is a very, very specialist type of PR. So I shouldn't even join that one in. But there's what I would call brand PR, there's comms PR, and then there's marketing PR. There are two different things. When you're doing PR for a brand or a corporate brand, it's different from when you're doing PR for a product. It's also different from when you're doing PR for, like marketing, it's part of a marketing campaign, and then there's the PR element of it. There's political PR, so they're just different elements. And I know that this is going to sound fun. It's still the same PR, but what I mean is that the way in which you do it, like for instance, if it's product PR, it has to be very personal. So you probably be using things like maybe influencers, you'll be having activation campaigns. If it is corporate PR may or may not be personal. It may be more like events, it may be more like publications, it may be more like press releases, targeting groups of people. And you may not, of course, you will not use influencers, for corporate, except that kind of person. For many brands, you will not want to do that. For products, you would want to do that. So the PR strategy, thinking will still be there. So anyway, I'm just saying there's a whole spectrum. So a generalist, a PR generalist, will know the whole spectrum of PR communication, of the PR spectrum, know everything that entails on that PR side, all the things that you need to do in terms of relationship building, in terms of messaging, in terms of protocol, in terms of how you just bring the whole event or campaign or intervention or meet and greet or whatever it is together. And there's some people who specialize in an aspect of PR. So there's some people that is protocol part, is the protocol part that they specialize in. So PR has, so let me write it down. This is why I always use slides, but sometimes you just feel that you just want to talk and not be looking at slides. So PR has like you can call what I'll call event management. It has campaigns, which can be online, it can be online or offline. It also has a messaging piece, which you could talk about how is it going to be an activation. It also talks about the experience, really. So you could have your messaging through experience, or you could have your messaging through like visuals or even communications media, social media. It's also part of it. If the purpose is PR, social media is also a tool that you can use for that. And of course, there's the media, traditional media piece. where you can actually be doing legacy media stuff, going on TV, doing radio, TV ads or presence, press statements, going on shows, going into the studio, record a show, that kind of thing. It's all part of the PR. Let's assume there's one PR event or objective that you're trying to meet on. Now, the PR generalist, the person who can manage that entire, come up with a holistic PR plan for you and think about what element of it will be event, what element will be campaign, what element will be messaging, and talk about the experience of people who are going to be part of that PR activation or that PR event and the social media element. That person is a generalist. The fact that the person can do that, can come up with a integrated PR plan, social media, plus traditional media, plus in-person, plus events, and bring it all together towards a goal. You are a generalist. And if you want to do that kind of event, you're looking for a PR generalist. Now, there's within that PR generalist mode, that PR generalist, if you really, really know your onions, there are some things that you may now require a specialist to do for you. For instance, the media activation piece. You may not be a specialist in media. You realize that for this kind of campaign, I really need somebody that has specialist skills. So you go and get a media agency to help you, specialist agents or a media consultant to get you to help you with that. And that person must be a specialist in that area. You tell the person, this is what I want to achieve. I want to make sure that this legacy media is here. This is what I want on the media. This is blah, 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 digital, all of that. And you bring that person in. You could also decide to bring social media specialists. You could also decide to bring videographers, visual storytellers. Of course, those people, that's all they do. They are specialists in that area. But your role, you as the PR generalist, you have the entire vision in your mind, and you're the one that is going to make sure that all those elements come together, and that you're the one interpreting the strategy into the strands that is required to achieve that overarching objective. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? But you are a generalist. You may also have your own specialist skills, which you deploy. Maybe planning is even part of your specialist skill, project management part of your specialist skill, vendor management part of your specialist skill. You deploy it for that purpose. But you also know the limitations of your own competence. You know the areas where there are other people that are deeper than you, and you bring them in. That's it. So I think that because this understanding has to be had, because every other profession has it. If you're looking at law, every lawyer knows whether you're into real estate, is it tax law, is it commercial law? And if they have a client, if I have a client that is on retainer with me, I'm the corporate lawyer, like we have legal counsels in every firm, they know the point at which they call tax lawyers in. Because even though they are lawyers and they're general counsel, if they realize that this situation will require a tax expert, they're going to call their colleague that is a tax expert in. But in our profession, many of us are pretending as if we are specialists. We don't even recognize specialism. And that's not your role. Every profession has generalists, every profession has specialists. You are a specialist in a particular area, and specialist expertise is required. Then you can do that. But if you're not a specialist, at least specialist expertise is required. You have to be able to alert within your organization or whoever it is and say, we need this kind of expertise to come in. It doesn't make anything less of you. In fact, you're more professional for being able to call in and bring those contacts in and tell them this is exactly what we look for. And at the end of the day, even that specialist will rely on you to deliver, because you're going to be the one that's going to tell them this is what we need to do, this is where we need to go, this is how far things need to go, and then and then the person can then plug in where they want to be. The same thing if it's comms, and with comms again, I mean, I like to separate them because sometimes you really just have to. But if it's a core comms job, again, some of the things apply. There's event management elements, there's the campaigns, which is, can be social, digital or online or whatever. There's the media element, there's the visual communications element, there is campaigns. I think I already talked about that. So it's also the same thing. But let me just hold on a bit. Let me see. The comms scenario. So for comms, you have like a different set of practice aligned, integrated in some ways, but let's focus on comms. I always try to differentiate. Let's talk about comms now. So in comms, the basic practice areas, the most well-known practice areas, there is visual communication. I mean, there's visual communications, there's corporate communications, there's development communications, there's political communications, public sector communications, brand communications, faith-based communications, risk communications, crisis communications. So there's communications according to sectors, there's communications according to whether it is editorial, whether it is brand, whether it is marketing. Of course, there's marketing communications. How could I forget that? So within the corporate communication space, then it comes down to different levels. There's the visual communications element, there's editorial, there is print, there's social, publications and all of that. There's the strategy element, there's the research element, there's the data, there's the analytics and all of that. There's the, campaigns, communications campaign strategy and all of that. So end to end, oh, and there's also a PR element of comms really as well. So end to end practice, all these things that I've talked about. There's the graphics element, infographics, storytelling element, ability to tell stories in text, in graphics. So it's communications through the entire spectrum of whatever is required for corporate, for business, for development, for risk, for political, for public sector, whatever the case may be. But let us even assume we're talking only about corporate comms. There are many, aspects of that that go into, a holistic end-to-end thing. Now, a generalist, I am more or less, I'll call myself a communications generalist because I have been a corporate comms manager, and in that role, I had PR was under me, brand was under me, all of the communications, issues management was under me. Crisis communications was a very strong part. Brand communications, visual identity was under me as well. Events, campaigns, conferences, all of that, sponsorships and donations. So everything that had to do with how the brand shows up externally and how we, how we manage reputation, how we communicate, how we are perceived, and all of that was under us. Of course, the survey, the research, data, analytics, all of that was also under us as well. I mean, as part of the comms element. So I had to know a lot about everything, a little bit to a lot about everything. But even in that, of course, media sort of like had a dotted line relationship, but we had media specialists. And those media specialists, they reported straight into the global media center. But they provided support and they supported our teams, and we had sort of like a dotted line reporting relationship. So they were specialists. So whenever there was anything that requires media involvement, we called the specialists. Now, the specialists will not run on their own and just be doing things without talking to us. Me, as the communications manager and the communications generalist, we would agree on the strategy, because whatever media is doing, media cannot be running on one tangent and the rest of comms somewhere else. So we will agree on, we know what the overarching strategy is, the whole communication strategy is. My role is to integrate the media and the communications. They would advise us on what is happening in the media space and how they think we should show up in terms of what we need to do, what we need to do, and get others to know about us and feel about us in this situation and what we would like them to do. And then we integrate that with, we tell them what the overarching strategy is, and then they help us to interpret that into the media space and say this is what can work with this kind of media stakeholders, or in this using this kind of media platforms and that kind of thing. We were doing the social media thing. I mean, social media is a very digital, and social media is a very strong part of comms. I think every comms generalist needs to be really high. For me, I would even call myself social media specialist to some extent. Very much so, very, very much, because I've had to enter it, because if you don't understand social media as a corporate comms or as a comms generalist, you can't really do much. So I'm going to do, the more I'm thinking about this, I realize that I have to visualize what I'm saying, because the way what I have observed that happens, that a real corporate comms manager or leader should be, is that you should be at generalist level for everything. So you need to know everything, because if you don't even know the spectrum of the profession, you won't know when you need specialists. So you have to understand. And then you have to be able to understand even all those areas to a level that even when you are discussing with a specialist head to head, you understand what they are saying. You're able to, do you understand? Even though they know you're not a specialist, they will respect your communications competence. If they're talking and you can't even function with them at that level, there's a problem. So I drew a pyramid, which I didn't visualize, but I have to do another video to show it, where I x-rayed myself, and I realized that if you look at four levels: awareness, skill, knowledge, no, awareness, knowledge, skill, and mastery. A typical rounded communications professional, you have to be at awareness to knowledge on everything, not even in fact everything. And then you have to be at skill level, I would say at about 50% of that everything. And then you become master. There are some areas, one or two areas where you're at mastery level, you are a specialist in those areas. So even though you are a communications generalist, there are one or two areas that you are a specialist in. Specialist means you've done it for a long time, you've entered it, you are a master. You are a master. You can teach people, you can set agenda, you can advise presidents on this issue, CEOs, governors, C-suite high-level decision makers at any level. That's the kind of mastery I'm talking about. You have to aim for that. So that helps you. So for me, I am at mastery. I'm a specialist in brand, reputation management, crisis management. The others, I would say I'm skilled level at varying degrees. I need to plot because I realize that until I visualize that thing and show it, maybe a lot of what I'm saying will not make sense. But I needed to just get this out there as an, because if I say I'm waiting for that, I have so much on my plate and all of that. And I think it's good that I've done this because I realize that I think it makes sense for me to visualize it. So that's really what I wanted to share. And like I told you, this is not complete, but I'm just putting out there that there's a big difference, and you can Google it up. You can even check Gemini, by the way, is a very good AI tool. Very, very good. Very, very, very good. It's very good at explaining things, analyzing things, bubbling things up. Use it a lot, but use it to research, to learn, not use it to do your work for you. You know what I mean? So again, we can have another, I think I'll do another video about how to use AI in comms and how not to. Anyway, so that's that. So this whole communication specialist and generalist thing, I am on a mission, and 2026, please bear with me, probably till 2027 as well. I am going to be slicing and dicing our profession and cutting it into pieces so that people understand. So that when people go to the market and say they want to buy communication services, either full-time or part-time, retainership or whatever, paid or unpaid, whatever, they know what they are looking for. And that the seller, both the buyer and the seller, will understand what they are selling, what they're able to sell. Me, as the seller of my services, I will understand what I can sell, what I cannot sell, what I need to say. You know that sometimes we do it a lot in Nigeria. Traders, you come to my shop, do you have this thing? I don't have it, but my friend here has it. Do you understand? And whether you have an arrangement with a friend or not, that's, I don't understand, that's up to you. But the point is that you know enough about the product markets to understand that what this buyer is coming for, I don't have it. What we have right now in the profession is people claiming to sell what they do not have, what they cannot sell. You don't even have the products. But because you capitalize on the ignorance of the buyer, to be honest, some other people don't even know what they don't know. That's even an even worse category that I also find, because I find many of us in our profession are not even aware, as in he who knows not and knows not, he knows not. So you're not even aware. So it's when they bring the work, you're not like, how did they expect me to do this? Because you don't even know what you don't know. You don't know what other people are doing. So, and to be honest, as this we push out these videos, God helping us, I really welcome your comments, because I think your comments is what really makes it seem like, am I talking to you? Do you understand? It gives me feedback. So even if what I'm saying you disagree with it, like some people do, please by all means disagree. And let us have a conversation, because I think that conversation is what gets attention. And then people now, we are at the end of the day, we are in a better place. If I'm wrong, I move to a, closer to the facts. If the other person also is, has a different view, the person can also, take in my own perspective as well. So I'm really looking forward to the conversations that we're going to have this year. I want the videos that we do from now, not just learn and go. Let us have a conversation, because that's how we learn. So even if you can't come into our trainings, and it's through these posts that come out, let's have the conversation, because you don't know where it's going to lead to and what it will inspire in you and what you will learn from it and where things will go from there. And you don't even know who is watching and who is listening to your comments. So please, by all means, comment in the post. So until the next video, it is yours truly, Shola Blue. And keep safe, stay strong, continue to learn, continue to grow. God be with you all. Thank you for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube. Thank you.